Hey, what's up guys? Today we have a different type of video than I usually make, one that I really don't want to have to make, but that I feel like I should at least talk about once, which is regarding the future of Genshin Impact. While Genshin is a game that I'm super passionate about and I hope to be able to play this pretty much forever or as long as it's, alive and healthy, I do have some worries about the way that it's going and at least want to bring some light on what the Genshin devs think, like their insights towards how they see the future of the game going, what they plan on doing in future versions, and why I think it's problematic, especially if we want this game to, live on and give players something to do more than just want to pull for new characters and spend Primogems. So this video is going to be a bit more raw than usual. I will still be editing like my sentences and stuff because my brain does go all over the place and I want this video to still be structured, but it's basically going to be my relatively unfiltered thoughts on the new dev post. So if you guys didn't see, I made a tweet about it, but basically the game developers behind Genshin had an interview, which I will link in the description down below, where they got to talk about their plans in future versions, endgame content, and all of that. What was the most problematic in this interview though, was regarding their stance towards adding new permanent endgame content in the same vein as the Spiral Abyss, or something similar. Now, to quote the interview itself, the developers themselves said that the Spiral Abyss is one of the most effective ways for players to test out their party composition and combat strength. If we design another type of permanent endgame that is similar to the Spiral Abyss, it might end up creating excessive anxiety for our players. Not everyone is interested in Musk Reef. And this is kind of where I have a problem. While they did make it clear in the next paragraph that they are looking at different game modes like the, trading card game and stuff like that for endgame content, for longevity, them being against another type of permanent endgame similar to the Spiral Abyss is, in my opinion, very problematic and something that should concern pretty much everyone, even if you're not endgame yet. Now, while the Spiral Abyss itself isn't the pinnacle of content and some rotations are more balanced than others, what the Spiral Abyss does offer is a chance for you to actually utilize your characters, your team comps, and the artifacts that you've been farming for months. If you spend a ton of time building a character and trying to maximize them and use them efficiently and test out their strength, there is no other place to do it than the Spiral Abyss and perhaps a few rotating events. While events are nice and the Spiral Abyss is great, there comes a certain point where you clear it and then don't have much else to do, at least with regards to the combat system. While I think Genshin is a very beautiful game from both a quest, storyline perspective and exploration perspective as well, the combat system is something that's unique and, in my opinion, second to none, at least as far as gacha games go, where I personally am not a big fan of gacha, but am a huge fan of Genshin's combat system, which is why getting more content in the same vein of the Spiral Abyss, or, co-op content, for example, like dungeons or raids or puzzles or anything like that you could do with your friends, or something similar to events we've had in the past that wouldn't even take much development time. For example, the Labyrinth event we got, but adding like actual rewards, making it permanent, adjustable difficulties so it's not only for endgame players, and balanced in a way that would make you motivated to grind for better artifacts, make better team comps, without it being something that only whales could clear. Things like that are very easy to do in the sense that MiHoYo already has invested the development time into it with these amazing events that we get, and for example, some domains that we do like once and then can't do them again for some reason would be one way to turn these limited pieces of content into actual endgame. Now, I do think some other people have made good points about why they might be doing this, like basically not adding us the combat endgame we want so that people play other games from Hoyoverse, which I understand the business move behind it, but that's just dumb. And honestly, I feel like it'd be better off for them anyways if they made their players actually like their game, attract new players that want endgame to do with friends, and play the game all day or as much as, they can, instead of just saying, oh, well, go play our other games. Now, obviously, they just want to make the most money possible, and I kind of get that, but it is just unfortunate. And ideally, we could get both. That type of marketing strategy doesn't really work on me. While I personally do enjoy Honkai, like genuinely, if what I like is Genshin's combat system and Genshin's characters, and I want to use them in endgame content, I'm not going to go play another game that lets me do that because it's not the same at all. Now, given that, what really is problematic here, though, is the mindset and actually what this entails. First of all, regarding the mindset, they said that the reason why they don't want to design permanent content similar to the Abyss is because it might create excessive anxiety for their players. Now, I don't know about you, but I feel like for me at least, what creates excessive anxiety for the player base in a gacha game is the gacha aspect. It's the fact that you might not have enough Primogems to pull for the character you want if you miss your 50-50, and then you have to spend real life money. And especially with the patch cycle now changing to 5 weeks for every patch, right, for the 2 banners that we get, or even 4 now if you count reruns, this makes it it to where you don't have a lot of time to get primo gems and can actually cause much more anxiety than having permanent endgame content that's optional and not going anywhere. I get it, in some like RPGs and some games, you can feel pressured to want to have the best characters possible, to want to be up to date with the endgame content, but in Genshin, it's not really a rush. And even if we had like floor 15 of the Spiral Abyss or a separate game mode, right? It doesn't have to be the Abyss. The Abyss isn't the best designed piece of content, but even if we had other forms of endgame, it wouldn't necessarily be a rush to get there, and if anything, in my opinion, it would be something to look forward to that you will eventually reach once you build your characters properly, as long as it's not geared obviously to like only whales, as long as it's balanced properly. And obviously there's just a lot of ways to like balance this, but I'm not going to get into all the details right now. Moreover though, what's actually problematic and kind of sad in my opinion regarding this is that they're not looking to make any type of permanent content that is basically built around combat. The reason why this is sad is because, as I said, the combat system of Genshin is honestly insane. I really like how you can combine so many elements together, spam reactions, build team comps around the characters that you like, and there's so many powerful viable options, even with 4-star characters being broken. At least the old ones. I know the new ones now are for some reason getting worse, which is another problem that I'm actually going to address. But the combat system in Genshin is so engaging and fun. Like genuinely, I really like elemental reactions and the way it's built. Places we can actually use it other than just exploring and actually show off like good artifacts and months that go into building characters properly, having good team comps, rotations, and actually playing the game quote unquote like efficiently, if you will, or actually being rewarded for building your characters properly is in the Spiral Abyss. And the thing is, if you've been playing since release, or if you spend a lot of time actually building your characters and your teams, it's something that you've either already cleared or will clear, and then there's really nothing else, at least for combat. While I get that the Abyss isn't for everyone, it is the peak of the combat content we have. Many people play Genshin for different reasons, and a large chunk of people that actually play Genshin do really enjoy the combat system and do clear the Abyss. Because of that, even if it's not the entirety of the player base, not giving that type of player more content and just saying, okay, well, go play the story and then change games, or go explore and then log off, is obviously not satisfying and will cause players to quit in the future, which is why I'm kind of not happy with this post, because their attitude towards that is just, sorry, this isn't the type of content we want because it will cause anxiety for some players, is really not a healthy mentality. Because for all the players that are either at endgame or just enjoy combat or are trying to get to that level, this is a big slap in the face to them, and also to players that want a way to play with friends. Like I started playing Genshin because I thought it was co-op and had enticing story and a combat system that looked really complex and fun. Well, there's no way for me to actually play with my friends unless I just want to do domains until I run out of resin. Now, I don't want to rant too long in this section because I feel like I might start repeating myself, but I do just want to at least close by saying that I get combat's not for everyone, but there's no real reason why they would not release other content similar to the Abyss, or perhaps even better, right? Like again, co-op dungeons that you can clear with friends, or solo content, or making some events permanent, other than the fact that it might cause anxiety for certain types of players, but like that really isn't a actual excuse. I get there can be a fear of missing out, but Genshin is a game where you're not going to be missing out. You can just eventually get to that level by playing the game and farming artifacts. I do also want to say, while there are other forms of endgame content like the trading card game, the teapot, daily commissions, bounties, stuff like that you can do every day, it's not the same. And again, everyone plays the game for their personal reasons. Everyone has their reason for playing the game, and for a lot of us, it is the combat system. Now, another thing I quickly want to touch on is actually the state of the 4-star characters in the game right now. And I wasn't planning on talking about this so soon. I wanted to wait and see if, you know, it gets better. But as we can see, the state of 4-star characters recently has gone incredibly downhill from the originals like Bennett, Xingqiu, Fischl, and Sucrose, and also like Xiangling, who I believe to be some of the strongest characters in the game. Like genuinely in the top 5 and the top 10 characters in the game right now, I believe a significant portion of them are actually 4-star characters. With that said, when you look at the 4-star characters that were released recently with Inazuma and more recently Sumeru, there's a pretty big disconnect, a pretty big loss in power that we're seeing. Characters are becoming more niche, and while I believe sometimes niche is good, for example, I think Goro, despite only being used in teams that want a defense buffer like Ito or Noelle, is very niche. I believe that's fine because he has his uses. With that said, what isn't fine is some other characters that are almost unusable or usable but basically never optimal, to where, yeah, you'll use them because they're cute, but you're never going to recommend them from a meta perspective. For example, Cole typically just being worse than the Dendro main character, Dory who's Dory, and arguably Candace as well, Sarah who's okay with C6, I get it, like there's some teams that can use her, but even then there's usually better options, and even then it's like extremely niche. And the same can be said about some other Inazuma characters and the state of the 4-stars we're getting in Sumeru. Now, another thing that I didn't even mention in this video yet, but that is a pretty big slap in the face as well, is when they talked about the original resin. There was a question asked in the interview, basically asking if there's a chance we get an increase in original resin or faster regeneration, basically just more resin so we can do more domains, more content every day. And they basically said no. They pretty much just said a bunch of words that didn't make sense to just fill in time, basically saying like, yeah, you might get more items through events. We'll give you like character ascension materials, but they basically just didn't mention more resin. So that's a no. So no chance of getting more resin in the near future. This sucks and is really annoying. Obviously, more resin is good. We can do more things and just gear our characters faster. Although I do kind of want to say that even with all the resin in the world, we still won't have a real form of endgame content for like challenging combat difficulty. However, obviously everyone wants more resin. It would be nice. And it was annoying that they just ignored this question completely. And so this does suck. And I do hope that in the future we can actually get more resin. Because of that, I am very concerned in the way Genshin is going. I do want to say that I have high hopes. I still love this game and I still will be streaming it and making videos on it for as long as I can because I am truly passionate about the game. I just feel like basically talking about this is important. This isn't me saying we should quit, but it's me saying we should at least complain and at least try to get better content and be concerned with the way things are going. Because if we want longevity in this game and we want to enjoy it and be able to actually use the artifacts we've been farming and the characters we've been building for months, if not years now, then having content where we can feel rewarded, at least from an endgame point of view, is something that we want and that we should be asking for. I do also want to say, just in case people mention this, I know that adding new content, some people are scared of because you can, like, it might take up too much space, and I know I have to buy like a new fucking phone because Genshin is too big, but I believe there's ways around this, like making some content downloadable. Even recently, actually, they implemented this where old quest data you could delete from your phone or from your even PC to make more space. I believe that is a good way forward, deleting some content you've already done, or for example, being like, okay, I'm going to uninstall Dragon Spine for now and I can reinstall it later if I want. Same with certain events, certain areas, quests, all that to make space better, because I don't believe saying just, oh, there won't be space for this is a good excuse, and neither is the anxiety excuse that endgame content might generate. I'm sorry for this video. I don't like complaining this much. I do believe it's useful though. I do believe making a video like this is important, at least to give you guys my thoughts on what is happening right now and why I genuinely feel sad. Like at first I was angry, but I'm genuinely just sad, and I hope we can see this change, and I hope, you know, like the trading card game is good and all that. Now I was planning on releasing my Kachin guide today, but I mean, I guess I'm not because I'm annoyed. Kachin guide will be out tomorrow and back to my normally scheduled content. I promise it won't just be videos like this in the future, but I do hope you enjoy, and please leave your, thoughts and comments down below, as I will be reading a lot of them, as I truly care about the state of the game. But yeah, that's about it. So thanks for listening, and see you later. Peace. If we designed another type of permanent endgame that is similar to the Spiral Abyss, it might end up creating excessive anxiety. What?